Hello, all you lovely people, and welcome to another video of mine. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Bright Memory Infinite. Now, this game is kind of a remake of Bright Memory Episode 1. And in case you're wondering, why am I talking about a game which has already come out for quite some time? Well, on the 16th of January, which is roughly about a week back, this game also received update of sorts where it received this new perspective mode where you're able to view your protagonist, Shelia, in this case, in a third person mode. Well, it's kind of a hybrid, exactly, because when you switch over to combat, whether you are using your sword or whether you're using your gun, the perspective changes from the third person mode to the first person mode. So it's quite interesting, the take that they had on this, and that's why I thought, hey, let's make a video on this. Plus, I've never played this game when it initially released. I would also like to mention that this game is available on Steam, and hey, it generally retails for a very, very low price, and on a sale you can get this really cheap. And is it worth it for the experience? I think it is, and I'm going to talk about all the reasons as to why I think so, and what I absolutely loved about this, and also, some of the things that I did not. Now, let's start off by talking about the game in general, as I always do in all my videos. So I'm here to give you information about this game, who made this game, who are the developers, etc., and all that stuff. So let's start by talking about the developers of this game. Now, surprisingly so, this game was created by a single developer, the original one at least, which was Bright Memory Episode 1. So that one was developed by a single developer in his spare time, and it was released on Steam's early access. And it had a lot of takers, and it was received, you could say there were mixed reviews. And I can totally understand why it had mixed reviews as well, because the game was extremely short, and so is this one. This one is also extremely short. I think you can breeze past it in, say, about a few hours, 2 or 3 at most. So what kind of a game is this? Now, this is basically a first-person shooter with melee elements as well. And with this new perspective mode, the reason why I'm making this video is you can take a look at how you actually switch between a third person and a first person mode. And to be quite honest, it's done really well. There are some elements, I'm going to talk about that a little later on. There are some elements which get you and which will disappoint you. But for the most of it, it's been done extremely well. And even if it was done by not just one, maybe a handful of developers, they're not very well-known developers at the end of the day. I mean, this developer came into the spotlight because of what he created initially, which was Bright Memory Episode 1, which was released in 2019. So this particular game, Bright Memory Infinite, this has already been released in 2021. It came out on Series X, it came out on Series S, and even on Windows. And basically, as you can see on screen, a first-person game where you do a lot of shooting, and then there are melee elements as well. You are playing as Shelia. That's the name of the protagonist. And you have guns, you have swords, you have supernatural abilities as well, such as psychokinesis. As you can see, you can actually bring an enemy towards you and make the enemy explode midair. That's insane. It kind of reminds me a little bit about some of those superhero movies where they use telekinesis and they kind of bring their bodies closer to them and then make it explode. So it's kind of gory, but hey, it's fun and it's really fast paced. This game is really fast. Well, there are elements where you get to upgrade your characters as well in terms of skills, where there is a light plate, there is a weapon, there's an exo unit arm as well. And as you progress in the game, you can upgrade your weapon or weapons, in this case the blade or your gun, where you can kind of use like shrapnel bombs, a grenade, tracker shells, etc. And then you also have your exo unit arm, where you can increase the intensity of your punches. Like there's a rocket punch, there's a tractor beam, there's a quake punch as well. And all of these upgrades, you could say, are there for the sake of maybe giving you that feel that, okay, there is character evolution here, there is an upgrade system. Don't expect a very deep upgrade system like some of the other RPGs that you would play. And even the combat in that sense is very straightforward, nothing wrong with that. But there is not a lot of, you could say, variety uh, as much as you would get in, let's say, something like Doom. But you have to take into account that this game is cheap, number one. Number two, it was just created by a handful of developers. The second game, the one that I'm playing, Bright Memory Infinite. And taking these two things in consideration, I think it's surprising. I mean, the end product is surprisingly good. The combat is really fast paced, as you can see. It's I would say a mix. There are a lot of reviewers who have mentioned about it being very similar, the combo style being very similar to Devil May Cry. I do not disagree with that. I think there are similarities, and also with Doom Eternal when it comes to the shooting mechanics. I don't disagree with that as well. So you will be reminded of these games, and of course, I believe that the developer definitely took inspiration from these couple of games. So it's a pretty good looking game for that. Now, giving you a little bit of information on the plot as well, as I hack and slash through this boss fight, the first boss fight, I would say. You play as Shelia, and you are basically an agent for this science research organization, otherwise known as SRO. And you're working to prevent SAI, a military organization, from acquiring a legendary ancient power that can reawaken the dead. And there are places in this game where you will travel between time as well. I think you go into the distant past, at least whatever I've played so far. So the game takes place in a land of sky located above the Arctic, consisting of levitating land masses which are home to ancient creatures. So the enemy variety, however, is not quite a lot. You will come across soldiers, and apart from that, nothing else. Basically soldiers only, because they're soldiers from maybe medieval times or the past, and then they're soldiers from the present. So it's basically soldiers. That's it. That's what you would come across. And the developer, the developer of the original game was Zheng FYQD Jiancheng. I hope I'm not butchering this name, but it was created using the Unreal Engine 4. So that was the first game. And then we had this kind of a remake, because instead of making an episode 2, what we received was this remade, expanded game called Bright Memory Infinite. So here you have better voice acting, you have better translations as well, because the original game suffered in, you could say, the content in English. So here the UI is also pretty fluid, the translations are well done, the voice acting, barely there, but at least the facial expressions are comparatively better this time around. However, they are, you could say, very plasticky. And so is the character. The way the character looks is also very plasticky in terms of the facial features, etc. Very doll-like, you would say. But that's expected. If you've played any of these Japanese or Asian RPGs, I would call it, then you know exactly the kind of art style you can look forward to in these games. Big, dolled up eyes, very, very big eyes, very slim and narrow jawline, and that's exactly what you have in Shelia. But as you can see, the combat, man, I have to commend the developers, because they've done an excellent job. I mean, the combat will keep you at the tip of your toes. You are going to be entertained. You are going to enjoy it. I was playing this basically in the easy difficulty mode, but I can kind of understand if you turn the difficulty up a notch, how it would kind of play. So I think there's a bit of a challenge here as well for those who are seeking a good enough, healthy challenge. If you turn the difficulty up a couple of notches, you're going to have a tough time. But overall, I must tell you that this game looks absolutely stunning. I mean, the assets, they look sharp. I was playing this on my PC, by the way. And just for reference, like I always mention in all my videos, I'm playing this on my Asus ROG Strix G15 Advantage Edition from 2021, which has the RX 6800M, which is a 12 GB GDDR6 graphic card, which is quite good. Now, as you can see, the action is really, really good. And I really like the combo of switching between the weapon types, whether it's the blade that you're using or whether it's the gun. Now, here's the thing. In the perspective mode, the first thing that I probably had a little bit of difficulty with, because I played this in the first person mode first, and you do have a toggle. You can choose to play with this new third person mode or you can turn it off. Now, the first thing that I had a difficulty with was the grappling thing, because sometimes it can be a hit or a miss. In the first person mode, I personally felt it was more organic and it felt kind of good. But in this, you have to adjust the camera angle a little bit, and then you are able to grapple and move over to the next area properly. So that is one of the things that I noticed, and I didn't exactly enjoy it a lot. Apart from that, the running, the character animation also looks a bit stiff. Now, running, I'm not so much, but when you pan the camera, the character looks like it's on this, it's kept on this machine, and the character is not moving, but the machine below that character is actually moving. So you know how you have these 360-degree cameras where you stand on this kind of a mechanical podium and the podium itself moves? So when you pan the camera, you have that kind of a feeling. See, and you can see here as well what I mean by that. When the character moves, it's fine. Some of the character animations in the movement also seems a bit funny, like you can see here. When you're crouching and when you're moving around, the character animation is a little stiff. So the game lacks that kind of polish in places, but I can totally understand this because it's just done by, you could say, a handful of developers. When you're crouching, yes, it is a problem, but when you're sprinting, the animation is good. When you're walking, the animation is good. So basically, it's not that bad an experience. Now, there are stealth elements as well, as you can see. So it's not, it's a mix and mash of a lot of other games. The stealth element, it's kind of funny. It's not I wouldn't exactly call it stealth. It's pretty funny. You do get a lot of warning before an enemy spots you. So this is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I think it's also because I'm playing this on the easy mode. But hey, if you want variety in terms of gameplay, you've got full-on fast-paced action, hack and slash, and then gun shooting as well. And apart from that, throw in a little bit of stealth with very funny assassination animation. I think it was funny. The game overall looks gorgeous. The character design is also good. There are a lot of costumes that you can choose from that you obviously have to pay for, but you can choose to make your Shelia look prettier. And there are a lot of Asian costumes. So if you're from any of these Asian countries, you would appreciate that. And the character itself looks good, but again, it's a very dolled up plasticky look, which can turn people off a bit. And if you're really into it, if you are into Asian RPGs, then you'll feel right at home. Now, the gun shooting is something that I really, really appreciated. And in the upgrades, I think if they could have just expanded a little more, given us a little more variety as to what you can do with the weapon, because even in terms of customization, the only thing that you can do is change the color of your weapon, whether it's your sword or whether it's your gun. That's it. If we could have received some kind of like added elements to the gun where you added the gun looks a little different, then I think that would have been really good. And it would have added a little more variety to the way you upgrade your weapons, like weapon customization, that is. So that would have been appreciated. Apart from that, very basic upgrade elements here. And the game itself is so short. that you won't really need it as well. So I know that there may be complaints that there are hardly any upgrade elements, but for the game, I would say it's enough because it's very short. It's not a very long game. So it services the game really well, whatever is in here. Now, what I would really look forward to if these developers make another game is number one, increasing the duration of the game, the length of the game, and those customization options where you have a lot more, and even in terms of skills where there is a lot more. Now you do have a little bit, and that's what this game does. Just a little bit of everything. So it's more like playing a game where it's a jack of all trades. It does not really focus on one particular aspect and excel in that. But I have no complaints with this game because for the price that you're getting it at on Steam, I would still say it's worth the experience. And in terms of the visuals, as you can see, it is top notch. You'd be stunned that a single developer or just a bunch of developers could achieve this. So it goes to show that technology has come so far that when it's used in the right way, money is not an aspect. If a developer has to develop something, if he or she is passionate about it, if there are groups of individuals who are passionate about a project, then they can make their dream turn into reality and we get a good product. So I would say for the price, it's a good product, but don't expect a very lengthy game. Don't expect a very polished game because it lacks that polish. But yes, it's a good game to look at. It's a good game to play for a short period of time, and you are going to enjoy it. And you should definitely try out this new perspective mode because it changes your perspective on the game itself. Now, with that said, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, then I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that like and subscribe button and also that bell icon in case you want to get notified with all my latest videos. With that said, it's a wrap for this one, but I'll see you in my next video. And in case you wish to see any of the new games that have been released like Dead Space, Wild Hearts, or Forspoken, then hit me up in the comment section and let me know which one would you like me to kind of give my comments on, my 2 cents on. So, with that said, it's a wrap for this one, and I'll see you lovely folks in my next video. Until that time, I'll say take care, stay safe, and may God bless you all.